is the need to meet the expectations of social licence changing the sport, and how could you contribute in terms of training methods and techniques?
It starts with transparency and communication. I would always like to think that anybody could walk onto my yard at any point and I could talk about what I was doing and why, and it would be understandable. I think in terms of how... it's probably slightly different for us because it's probably going to be my side of it that it impacts you as much as well. In terms of how it impacts the sport, ultimately, I think it's going to impact the sport for the better. And I think that's how we have to look at it. I think that, this is where I come back again to the fact that we have to be done with the negativity and we have to look at how we're going to make it better going forward. And that is transparency and communication. But I also, I think that we have to try and show the world that we are not making our horses do this. Horses need this. They enjoy doing this, whether that's, your crazy eventers jumping around huge tracks but looking like they're having the time of their life, or mine doing stupid dancing on the spot but still quite enjoying it. And, these guys doing slut drops in fishnets. That horse was loving it. But, I think, from my point of view, I actually think, the important thing with how we deal with this, transparency, communication, but also knowledge. I think, if you take, for example, the bridle bit, noseband rule, all of those kind of things, I have no problem with people being able to ride in snaffle bridles. I don't see why it shouldn't be allowed at any level. I think it will be quite soon. I think I find it quite difficult when people say, you should even be able to do it in a bitless bridle. Fine, but actually understand that a hackamore, if you ride in a hackamore, has 2 much stronger pressure points than a double bridle that has many pressure points, but the pressure is spread around them. So actually, scientifically, a hackamore can cause more issues than a double. It's about how you use the equipment that you are wearing. Okay, so I think, and the whole noseband thing, I think if it gets to the point where we may as well not have a noseband on because it's so loose, I'm not sure that it'll actually benefit the sport. I think we have to keep looking to the science as well, and the horses, obviously the horses are paramount, but we have to look at actually the effect of what we're doing and to educate people about the findings that are made, because I do think that's really relevant.
For me, I don't want to get into it on individual topics, because firstly, I think it's such a hard question for us to ask. None of us beat our horses or anything like that, so we can't tell you how to change those who are, do you know what I mean? We're as baffled as the rest of everybody else is that horses get treated in certain ways. The danger that I see with it is, have you ever seen how there'll be a riot in London because of something completely justified? Those young girls that got brutally killed during that Taylor Swift dance class, the Black Lives Matter protest, those sorts of things that start out for a fantastic cause, and then it ends up with young hooligans breaking shop windows to rob stuff. I feel like that's happening a little bit with this. If someone's genuinely abusing a horse, they should be stopped. Now, this is where I probably differ. I'm not actually sure calling people out is a good idea. It is the best way to go about it. You want someone to plant their flag on that hill and dig their heels in, attack them. I think, like everything we've already said about this idea of growth and change, that doesn't just apply to the things you like. You're not forgiving and generous if you're only nice to people that you like. And I think that comes in a big way. And I think we're in danger of actually us, as the equestrian community, making this worse to the non-equestrian community who look in, because we want to make such a big palaver and crucify everybody who we can catch in a moment. There are scientific studies that study the brain waves of people who are involved in a witch hunt on Facebook, and they're the same brain patterns as people who are enjoying watching a public execution. Says a lot about us as people. So I think that's the danger of it. I think there are good things happening, and I think we'll sort of stumble our way through, and I agree with Becky, I think there's going to be a lot of positive change. The other thing I would like to say is I was worried about this, but then I've had quite a lot of things happen in my life recently that have shown me that I don't think the whole social licensing is as much of a... Now, I'm separating the concept of social licensing away from the concept of horses being trained badly, because I don't actually think those things sit together as much as people pretend they do. Yeah. I think it's brilliant that we're trying to do as much to change horses and make horses be respected and trained in a way that has integrity. What's integrity? Doing what's right even when nobody's watching. But I just spent the last 3 days on the phone to Britain's Got Talent with them begging me to go on with my horses. And me saying no, because I'm just not interested. Do you think Britain's Got Talent, a big company like that, with all the money behind it like that, would be desperate for a horse act if they thought the British public didn't like horses? No. I'm talking to a friend who's running a company that's just invested, so I think it's 200 to 300 million in a new range of equine product. The product is incredible. Do big multinational companies do that if horse riding's about to get banned and thrown down the drain? If I asked you what was the biggest problem in social licensing in this country, you'd probably say dressage. I went to America and tried to start that conversation, and they laughed in my face and went, what? No one cares about dressage, it's eventing. So we live in these apocalyptic echo chambers where we go round and round and round with all the negativity because it's so absorbing. And it feels great to be able to be like, I struggled to get the right canter lead today, but I'm not doing that, so let's shout at that person. But I don't think that helps. And I think it's that, we're adults. Let's be a bit more adult about this. If you see something wrong happening... I called 3 people out at Dublin Horse Show. That's the real way to change this. There were 3 people, and I said the same sentence to each of them. They were leading horses and just knocking them around while they were leading them. And I didn't go up and say, I'm sorry, stop that, I'm filming it. No, you're not. How's that going to help? I said, I'm really sorry, I hate to come over, but I'm pretty sure there's a better way you could be doing that. And then they walked off, and then they stopped jagging it in the mouth with a chiffney. That's all it needs to be sometimes. Most people who are doing something wrong know they're doing something wrong. It doesn't need to be a witch hunt. It can just be hey, come on. The same way that at Christmas, when I start telling certain jokes that I love, my wife will look at me from across the table, and I will know, hey, come on. Rein it back in.
So I'm no longer involved in a sport, but kind of what Ben was talking about made me think, think about would this social licensing thing be a big deal if there was no social media? If we just had TV and newspapers, would it be a big deal? No, because a newspaper gets printed and you read it at home and you piss and moan about it, or you like the article, but there's no conversation about it. Same thing on TV. And so for me, I would say the best thing you can do is do not comment on anything negative on social media. Don't add any energy to it. Because, like Ben said, you telling people they're doing it wrong is not there's no way to influence them, but just don't buy into it. And I always tell, some people go, they'll send me a text or a screenshot of so-and-so in this group, they're talking about you, and they say, my reply is, do not defend me. Okay? Don't go there. Don't give it any energy. It doesn't need any energy. If you ignore it, it'll go away. Think about someone who wants to get on their high horse on social media. If they posted a post and comments 0, where does that energy go? It doesn't go anywhere. So I'd just say, just don't get it. If another thing pops up, like came up this year, and and it was all over the place, and everybody had an opinion on it. Just don't comment on it, and it'll go away. And I'm not talking about, like you were talking about the little girls at Taylor Swift thing or whatever. But I'm talking about just putting negative energy into the whole horse space. Think about those people who are up in arms on social media. Are they actually walking down to their local pony club and protesting outside with signs? Do they really give a shit? Or are they just sitting at home on their couch like, oh, there's an easy pot shot right there? It's almost, I think a lot of times it's almost them publicly displaying their triggers. Something triggers me from childhood or whatever, but it's almost like them publicly displaying their triggers. And, the best thing you can do is not put any energy into it, even, and that's for the public space, but even for yourself. Don't even read it and then go, I'm not going to comment, but they're a bitch. Because someone who you don't know, who doesn't know you, has now affected you in a negative way. Just don't let that stuff in, because social media can be a nasty place, and if you just let all that stuff in, believe me, I know, because I have a relatively big space in the social media space, and I have let it affect me at times, and it can eat you alive. You know what I mean? So yeah, just don't add to their negativity, and don't let them cause you to be negative. The end.
Could I just tag on to the end of that? Like, I agree with everything Warwick just said, how powerful it is, how we fan the flames of negative energy. You can do the opposite as well. When you find people who you think are amazing, who train ethically, big them up. Push it out, because I think that's the biggest thing. We get so many, that's wrong. Blumming hell, what's right? And trying to fan the flames of that positivity so that people have positive idols and stuff to look up to, and not just this slurry.